This is TWiT.
I am talking to Laura Weidman Powers, who is one of the founders of Code2040. Laura, we've been talking about your organization and everything that you're doing to get the talent that's out there into tech companies. The leaky pipeline is something that people throw around a lot. It comes from the pipeline problem. That's what people said. And describe a little bit your view of the leaky pipeline and what Code2040 is trying to do to stop it, I guess.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. The leaky pipeline is a really popular kind of metaphor or explanation for what's happening because it's really easy to wrap your head around. It's really linear. And there is certainly a version of a pathway into tech that is linear and could be described as a pipeline. I think it can be useful to understand sort of that path for an individual who maybe, starts in kindergarten and ends up in their career and kind of what happens there. But I think the context around that is really critical as well, because there are, particularly nowadays with things like coding boot camps and, endless ways to self-teach, that there are a lot of pathways into tech and into the tech industry. And at a lot of companies that we think of and name as tech companies, the majority of jobs are not technical. And at a lot of companies that we think of as not companies, a sizable minority of jobs are technical. So it's actually, unfortunate for the metaphor, but much more complex than thinking of just a single pipeline with leaks along the way. So that said, as context, we started Code2040 because there was this narrative that it was a talent issue. The talent wasn't out there. And usually that followed with well, it's because there aren't enough computer science majors, but really there aren't enough computer science majors because there aren't enough Black and Latinx folks taking the APCS exam. And that's because their 8th grade math classes aren't good enough. And really, don't we have to start in kindergarten? And it ended up being this slippery slope to we have to fix public education in America. And while I do believe we have to fix public education in America, that actually obfuscates the variety of different opportunities there are to create change today. And so Code2040 was built on this premise that yes, there are many things wrong with the quote unquote pipeline, but if you look at folks who make it all the way through, all of the leaks that are usually called out, 18% of computer science grads each year are Black and Latinx. And yet, if you look at the industry numbers, that's more like 5%. Some of these big companies, it's 1 to 3% Black and Latinx. And so there's something happening way past the education pipeline that's looking at actually that transition from education to employment and turning those skills into economic empowerment. And so when we think about the folks who are working at various other stages of kind of the educational journey, we hope that Code2040 is kind of the multiplier effect, because if folks are actually making it all the way through, the various stages of getting your education and getting the math foundation and getting exposed to computer science and deciding to pursue it and then graduating with a degree, we want to make sure that those folks make it into industry. And at the same time, I think there's no need for the industry, whether it's existing companies or, folks looking to start new companies, to feel limited by, did I study CS as an undergrad? So we work specifically with students who are technical. But if you look at the ecosystem as a whole, there's so many ways to be in tech and contribute to tech that I think getting fixated on the leaky pipeline can actually distract from the broader suite of solutions and interventions available to us to create a more inclusive sector.